Picture this: England 1784, the land of drizzle, politeness, and organized tea crime. It started with one tiny, innocent leaf, tea, the national obsession, the social glue. The one thing standing between British civilization and chaos. But in the late 1700s, drinking a legal cup of tea was a luxury for the rich, because the government, in its infinite wisdom, had taxed it at 119%. Yes, 119%. That's not a tax, that's a ransom. And so, Britain did what Britain always does when prices get ridiculous. It turned to crime. Smuggling tea became the country's favorite sport. Forget cricket, this was faster, wetter, and came with more muskets. Along the southern coast, Kent, Sussex, and Cornwall, small seaside villages came alive after dark. Lanterns flickered on cliff tops. Ships from Holland crept in under moonlight, carrying tons of untaxed tea from China and beyond. The smugglers unloaded it with military precision. Fishermen, farmers, even vicars joined in. It was less "God save the king" and more "hide the Kimoon." Their secret weapons: fast, narrow boats, the 18th century equivalent of speedboats. They could slice through the channel faster than any customs ship. When the tide was right, whole convoys of barrels would glide ashore, loaded onto wagons, and vanish inland before dawn. But smugglers weren't just fast, they were creative. Some disguised their tea as funerals. Picture a solemn procession, mourners in black, a coffin being carried to the churchyard. Inside, not Uncle George, just several hundred pounds of fragrant oolong. Even manor houses got in on the action. Secret tunnels were dug beneath fields, linking the coast to cozy drawing rooms where fine ladies pretended to sip imported tea. It wasn't just the poor, the local gentry were knee-deep in the brew, too. The government, of course, panicked. Customs officers patrolled the coast with dogs, soldiers, and even small naval ships. But smugglers always seemed one step ahead. When caught, they'd offer a polite bribe, often a pouch of the very tea they were smuggling, and be waved on their way. By the 1770s, historians estimate that more tea was smuggled into Britain than sold legally. Imagine, half the country's morning cuppas poured straight out of contraband barrels. Britain wasn't just a nation of tea drinkers, it was a nation of tea pirates. Then along came a young man with a plan. William Pitt the Younger, Prime Minister at just 24. He looked at the chaos, the bribes, the bloodshed, the nation buzzing on illegal caffeine, and said, "Enough." In 1784, Pitt slashed the tea tax from 119% to just 12.5%. That's it. No grand speeches, no battles, just math. And it worked. Overnight, smuggling died. Legal tea flooded the market. For the first time in decades, you could enjoy your Earl Grey without worrying about armed men bursting through your parlor window. The smugglers' empire crumbled. The coast fell silent, and Britain's love affair with tea became, once again, respectable and taxable. But there's a twist of irony in all this. That crushing tea tax, the one that drove British citizens to smuggling, had also driven American colonists to rebellion just a few years earlier. The Boston Tea Party was, in a way, Britain's own bad policy coming back to bite. The British fixed it, only after losing an entire continent. Still, there's a moral in this sticky, steamy tale. If you overtax something the British love, tea, biscuits, maybe even Netflix, you'd better prepare for rebellion. Or at least some very creative smuggling. And so, the great British tea heist came to an end not with muskets or manhunts, but with a